Hi guys, Namaste. I'm Priyanka Deo. Nice to meet all of you guys. I can see people are logging in. Sorry, I was a couple of minutes late. Technical difficulties trying to log in. But I think I'm actually a little bit more comfortable in English, and I want to make this a little bit of an interactive session rather than me just talking the entire time. तो एक्चुअली थोड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है एंड इट्स अ लिटिल बिट मोर important now that the Prime Minister and most national leaders have addressed it, which is fake news in the time of coronavirus. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background first, just a couple of minutes. I was involved in the, on the communication side during the election, national election, Lok Sabha elections last year. And prior to that, I have by and large been based in the USA. I grew up in Chicago, and I was a part of President Obama's campaign team for both of his presidential elections. I also interned with him when he was a senator. So prior to everything else, I've played tennis. I was ranked in the top 100 in the world. And so anything that you right now, what I do is I do YouTube videos and try to approach topics in a very objective way. I think because of the way that I approach, you obviously get a lot of hits, and you also get a lot of hatred, you get a lot of trolling from quite a few people. You guys would probably know that. But I think that the reason why I keep stressing the importance of misinformation is because I really saw it the second campaign that President Obama was running. So I think the problem is once fake news, misinformation, false reporting, ये false narratives जो है, this exists in every society. The problem is once it enters into a society, it's very difficult to take out. So if you look at the future of fake news, fake information, we saw that in the Lok Sabha elections quite a bit, that there was a lot of fake news going around, WhatsApp messages जो आते रहते हैं. A lot of it is fake news. No, everyone is part of these WhatsApp groups, family groups, this and that. All sorts of forwards come. And a lot of them are false information. Now, the impact of that in Corona was quite severe, because we saw that, everyone saw the gathering of migrant workers in Anand Vihar. We also saw the impact of, gathering of thousands of people at Nizamuddin. And this is primarily because there was very little information, very few articles, if any. I didn't see any actually, during, in January, in February. Those articles only started surfacing very recently. Ki best practices, kya hai? Or the other topic that people needed to know, that all the masses, Indian public needed to know, was not to panic, right? So articles did not stress this. Media did not stress this. They were more interested in publishing, we have reached stage 3 of coronavirus, ya fir government is not doing enough, or, things anti-Modi, anti-government narratives, right? So this is also, I can tell you, the same in every society. Now, media channels are also funded, we know that. So they will push their agenda. But the problem that I have is that during the time of a national health crisis, this is actually not even national. We are concerned primarily with India, but this is a global health pandemic hai. And during the time of a global health pandemic, it's really sad that media institutions and major media platforms are choosing not to publish best practices. They're choosing not to publish, the importance of social distancing, the importance of isolation. I think PM ne bataya ki even if you don't have the symptoms, it's important to isolate yourselves at this point. People are still, to this day, what are we, 10, 11 days into the national lockdown, people are still not taking it seriously. People are going for walks, for jogs, and that is fine. Lekin they are not maintaining social distancing. Panic buying still exists. I was just at the local grocery shop the other day, and people were standing neck to neck with each other. So with this, what happens is community spread. And this is primarily happening because of the power of media. They are choosing not to use it for the greater good. They're choosing to basically push narratives that are not helping people. They're not making people aware of the gravity of the situation. Abhi UK mein there are rumors, there are articles saying that the UK is facing up to 6 months of lockdown. US, I have a ton of friends. I've grown up there, as I said before. I keep talking to them, asking them what the status is, how they are coping, how this strict lockdown. One of my friends is she lives in a high rise in the US. Or बहुत strict है. That sort of implementation is not in India. So she wanted to go to the grocery store, and her car is in the parking lot downstairs of first few floors of the building, and she lives on a higher floor. So it is so strict over there that the security guard, before you go down to the parking lot, he will ask you, where do you want to go, how long will you be? So she said, I want to go to the grocery store pe jana hai, and I will take 2 hours. And he notes it down. Building has your phone number and information. After 2 hours, they will call you and ask you, where are you? And when you come back, you have to show the receipt of where you were. You have to obviously show the grocery bags and everything. And they will tell you, okay, now you go upstairs after a thermal screening. This is happening in every single building in the United States, in Chicago at least. Most buildings are doing this, residential buildings. Now, despite this, the United States is in a complete lockdown. And look at the number of deaths, right? It's one of the highest counts of deaths due to coronavirus right now. And this is also what the Prime Minister said, that despite the US and the UK having much more advanced health systems, look at the state that they are in. So now, before India gets to that state, it is super important that you do follow best practices, and that you do maintain social distancing, and that you do not panic. These are the 3 fundamental ways of combating and containing coronavirus. Now, this needs to be portrayed in the media, and it's not. So what is the solution? And this is, I want to thank you guys for having me on this platform, because I run a YouTube channel of maybe, I think YouTube pe we have about 20,000 people. New India Junction is the name of the channel. On Twitter, on Instagram, my personal handles are there. I keep uploading videos. Now, the only way that, if major media publications are not publishing this information, I do think that it is up to us, especially in India. Most of the population is youth, right? So I definitely think that the only way to fight this is if youth on their independent platforms share the correct information. Now, you see WhatsApp, you see our parents also giving you forwards on WhatsApp. And half the time, even my mother, my father send me all these forwards on WhatsApp ki coronavirus ka ye cure hai, and this is this and that is that. I keep telling them, please make sure that you're checking what you're sending, because before you're forwarding to 25, 30 people, right? If that is the case, I think there is tremendous power if we collectively start sharing the correct information, right? So whatever your strengths are, now my strength is in writing, my strength is in making videos at least I think I'm good at that. But I think that the solution is, if all of us collectively start making these videos, if we start sharing best practices over and over again, right? Sharing them once doesn't do anything, because obviously everyone is not watching you all the time, every single day, every single hour, every single minute. But if you do start sharing these best practices, if you start sharing the fact that please do not panic, if you start objectively arguing against criticisms and anti-government, anti-leadership sort of narratives that are going on social media. I think that this is very effective, and not enough people are doing it. That is the problem. So if you look at, for example, on Twitter, there was I've written an article on Swarajya. Please have a look, and I've given examples line by line as to what false information is and what fake information is, what false narratives are going around. Now, for example, Rahul Gandhi, a little bit before, had said that, there was a rumor going around actually, nationally, that he was the first one that made people aware of coronavirus, right? And his tweet was, if you look at his tweet, I believe it was on Twitter, his tweet was dated back to February. But if you look factually at what the government of India has been doing, the government of India became active in the fight against coronavirus on January 8th. On January 7th, coronavirus was recognized by China and by the WHO, which is World Health Organization. And on January 8th, the Ministry of Health held its first meeting, right? By January 17th, airports were already getting screened and passengers were already getting screened. I'm getting comments that my voice is very low. Is that true? Can you guys hear me? Somebody answer yes or no. So anyway, I guess it's okay now. Anyway, if if you know this to be a fact, if he's arguing, for example, that he was the first one, Rahul Gandhi was the first one that recognized coronavirus and warned people against coronavirus. There is no sense, to me, in my opinion, there is no sense in trolling him. There's no sense in making fun of him. What's he going to do? He's going to ignore your comment. No? On Twitter, he doesn't even reply to any of the comments. But I do think that there is value. No matter how many followers you have, if you have 3 followers, if you have 20 followers, if you have thousands of followers, hundreds of followers, I don't care. I think there is value in putting an objective point across that is factually supported, objectively supported. Because this not only brings you credibility, but people really can't argue against you. The best they can do is personally insult you, but who cares, right? I mean, what can you do about it? If they don't have an argument, they will personally attack you, which is all right, because at this point in time, I think the awareness needs to grow. So I, at this point, will just leave it up to you to ask some questions. But I do find value in objectively putting the message across. Even if you have to do a Twitter, like a simple tweet. I don't know what social media platforms you use, but the biggest ones are WhatsApp, Facebook. Some of you, I think most of you are using Instagram. I think a lot of you are using Twitter as well, or want to grow your Twitter. Now, this is the way to grow it. I've seen some very nice threads. I've seen some very nice cartoons that people can make. If you're a singer, if you're a rapper, make a song about it. But back it up with facts, because there's very little that you get out of reacting to something. And just apply it to any situation, right? If you have a fight with your friend, is it better to keep arguing or to find a solution? If you calmly, coolly sort of express your point of view, people will take you more seriously, right? Versus you yelling, screaming, reacting. So this is the point that I'm trying to make, and do share the articles that I've written, or try, instead of sharing, I would encourage you guys to write your own articles. Write your own, doesn't even have to be articles, you can write blogs on it. You can just put information out there, and it doesn't matter which platform it's on, to be honest, as long as it's on the net and people can read it. Because the more of us that start doing it, the more people will become aware of best practices, and the more objectively you express your points, the more people will start listening to you. And it works. I moved to India. I was at Harvard in 2018. I graduated in May and I moved to India in July. and I had about 200 followers on Twitter, maybe 300 on Instagram, and most of them were my friends. So, whom I told, please follow me, please follow me. And today, my follower count has grown primarily because I back things up with facts. And it's a very simple thing to do. All the information is honestly online. You just have to search for it and do a little bit of a deeper search than Wikipedia. So let me open it up to a few questions at this point. And, I really like the fact that this is a nice I love small group discussions because I think there's tremendous value in them. There is a question from Aditya. Let me just open it. Question is, what can the government do to curb fake news and narratives, especially shared over social media? Do we need a social media accountability law? That would be useful. But just recently, the Supreme Court had to step in, right? Because of Anand Vihar and what happened over there. So they issued the best we can do at this point. There's no regulation on media and that's a tricky sort of path to tread because there's very little, because how do you stop freedom of the press? That's a fundamental right, in most constitutions. That's a fundamental right in US Constitution. That's a fundamental right in the Indian Constitution as well. So you can't curb freedom of the press and freedom of speech. So to create those definitions, how to stop media, how should we stop them, social media accountability law. Just think about it, Aditya. How would you frame a sort of policy around it or a sort of law around it? Because one, you cannot completely curb freedom of press. They do have a right to criticize. Of course, they can, if they are not happy with the PM or if they're not happy with the government policy, yes, you can express it. And yes, you can publish that. That's the right of the press. But how do you make a law that regulates the limit of that, right? So it's really, really hard. So I think that the best that the government can do is issue these advisories. And the more that I'm really glad that the Supreme Court issued that advisory, because the reason that migrant workers came and congregated at that one place was because they heard that the lockdown was going to be over 3 months, right? So for example, I was talking to my aunt back home, and she was saying that, she has house help and she has a driver and, people that clean the building, service the building, everything. So she was saying that, all these people, they are not even from, she lives in Maharashtra. So she was saying that all these people are not from Maharashtra, they are from not from the major cities. So they have to walk kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. And obviously, transport was stopped, right, during the national lockdown. But she was saying that, she said that we will give you food, we won't cut your salary, we won't do this. But it was a little inconvenient. These people were saying, no, we want to be with our families and we would rather die on the way to our homes versus staying over here for 3 months. Because our families, how will they survive for 3 months? How will the money get there? How will we, so this scare was there. And that's why these migrant workers went and they were walking 200, 300 kilometers. Some died along the way. And for what? Because of one stupid headline or a couple of stupid sensationalized headlines that said that lockdown could last 3 months, lockdown could last, months and months and months. The government did not say this at all. None of the national leaders, none of the national credible leaders said this at all. But this caused tremendous chaos and disruption in the country. And obviously it set back the efforts of fighting coronavirus because social distancing was not maintained. So that is why I'm stressing, I think on this conference, I'm happy that there's, just little over 20, 25 of us there. Because even if 25 voices start voicing the truth in our own ways, right? If you're not comfortable making a video, tweet it. If you're not comfortable making a tweet, write it. If you're not comfortable writing, do a Facebook post. But share best practices and share the correct information and call out people that are, it's so sad that these influencers have millions of followers and yet they choose not to share best practices, they choose not to share the correct information. It's really, really sad. If I had that many followers, I would be sharing best practices every single day. I would be sharing where to go, which hotline numbers to reach, what are the emergency service numbers. And they're not doing that, right? This is why PM Modi had this call with all the celebrities and sports persons, and it was to create awareness and to create accessibility into where should citizens go if they need help. Half the people don't even know that some of the ministries have set up phone numbers and email addresses. And I've said this on my TV debates also, that I have personally tried just as a test to see which, if the numbers are actually, working, and if I get a response back on email. Now they've set up these numbers, I believe it's Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Health. There's several other ministries that have also set up hotlines and emergency numbers that you can call for any queries related to the coronavirus. Any queries. So I just wrote a couple of questions down, sent it via email. I also called the number, and response times are actually quick. But the problem is that citizens don't know this, right? So I think that it is up to all of us, especially those that are savvy on social media, to sort of try and create this awareness consistently. It should be done daily. If there's 21 days of a lockdown, there should be 21 messages from you or 21 outreaches from you in your family. You don't need to broadcast it, that's for sure. But use social media as a tool that will give the right information out. And it's, just like I think our national leaders are saying, everybody in this country, all 130 of us, have to follow the best practices, have to maintain social distance, have to abide by the national lockdown. It is for our own good, right? In the same way, while we are sitting at home and while we have these hours to kill, why not make people aware of best practices, of what to do, of who to go to? There's also value in sharing positive stories. If you know people who are helping people out, there's a lot of NGOs right now. There's RSS workers that are consistently going out even today to provide supplies and food to people. Highlight these stories, highlight these positive narratives, because people sitting at home are tired and they're getting, it's a very tough time, right? Even psychologically to sit at home. It's very tough for some people, and people are struggling during the national lockdown. At this time, they are craving positivity, they're craving the right information and best practices. There's some more questions that I feel I should answer. The Epidemic Act does not have any provisions related to fake news. This is a question from Vedansh. Thanks for your question. This is a good question. But there is nothing related to fake news. Otherwise, it would have been applied and there would have been more than an advisory, I feel, in the current situation. Now, there's another question. The general perspective in youth today on social media seems that any narrative that is anti-government, anti-religion, anti-police is cool and fancy, whereas the narrative challenging this is primitive and anti-modern. Do you think this is true? And if this is true, what can we do to change the narrative? I do think this is true. Unfortunately, yes, I do think this is true. And I think that some of you would agree. I think that, see, the problem is that most of these major platforms, they have, right, fancy studios, fancy video editors, fancy whatever, to create these cool looking videos, right? And now if you don't have that sort of, those sort of resources, it is very difficult to create a very cool and very savvy and very trendy video, correct? But I think to counter this, and to avoid, as you say, Rugved, primitive and anti-modern, I think to counter this, it can be done in very simple ways. Um, there is actually a very interesting story. I'm reading a book called War, and you can't read it from cover to cover. But I'll give you an example, Rugved, of, and I'll tell you why I'm telling you this story. But there's this story on Napoleon Bonaparte, who is one of my favorite people. He's fascinating to read about. And he had very few men, he had very few supplies, he had very little ammunition, and he was fighting a very big army, a very prestigious army. Now, the leader of that army, he was about to retire after this battle with Napoleon Bonaparte. Colonel or whoever he was, had no idea who this Napoleon was, but he grew overconfident. And he said, yeah, we have so many supplies, we have so many soldiers, our army is so prestigious, they've never lost a battle in the last, so and so, and no problem. So he was overconfident, and he was like, after this I can enjoy my retirement, and he wanted a very grand battle so that he would go down in history books, right? So what did Napoleon do about it? He knew the situation. He knew that he was pretty much on the losing end of this. And now you can apply this to social media, right? If you look at that colonel's army, it was very big, it was very grand. So like anti-government narratives, it was very trendy, it was the thing that people were listening to and the thing that was highlighted. And then there was Napoleon, a bunch of scraggly sort of soldiers, and they didn't even know how to fight properly, no proper uniforms, no money, no ammunition, as I said before, no supplies. How they tackled this army, right? And this is one of Napoleon's most famous battles that he won. He did guerrilla warfare. So all of these soldiers were hiding in bushes and hiding in trees. They got to know the area and the landscape that they were fighting in, which the other army did not bother to do. So this colonel and this general kind of had these soldiers march in. And in the meantime, as they were marching in, Napoleon's soldiers started shooting at them, started attacking them, and they defeated them, right? So in a similar way, if you're looking at social media, and if you're looking at, right now we are overburdened with these anti-government narratives, anti-Modi narratives, narratives that are not true, sensationalized news, right? The only way at this point that you can fight it, if we do not have these major platforms and we are outnumbered in these massive platforms, right? The only way that you can fight it is through objectivity. Remain a cool, calm voice, know your subject, and repeatedly, relentlessly post information out. I hope that answered your question. I love that story, so I tell it to everyone that I know. But I do feel that this is the way to kind of change the narrative. And if you notice, some videos that are very natural, means shot on your phone or just a rough cut, those are the videos that tend to go viral on different platforms, right? It's nothing fancy, it's not this, it's not that, but those videos tend to really work wonders, because the message is simple, the language is simple, and they put the points across. Like if you look at my Twitter handle, I've started doing videos every single day on what the government is doing by and large, right? Government updates that people don't know, that do not get highlighted in the news. Like for example, yesterday, the most recent video is yesterday the President and Vice President of India held a video conference with state leaders, and they were looking at the ground situation. A lot of people don't even know this, right? So these awareness videos are very important, because it goes to show that the government of India is being very active and it's giving people the real story. There are a few more questions. Let me see. You suggested, you don't have to call me ma'am, you can just call me Priyanka. You suggested that we should objectively put facts before people and try to spread correct information backed with facts. That's correct. This, however, becomes problematic when the correct information concerns some facts pertaining to a particular community. Okay? People start branding you names and adjectives. What should we do in such situations? So this happens to me all the time. I think a lot of you guys know, I got kicked out of all my Harvard groups for taking a certain stance on things, as you say, or saying things about certain topics, certain people, certain communities, taking a stance and publishing them. I understand that as I speak to a lot of youth across, and I've spoken to them since 2018, since I've moved to India, and I can understand that if you are on a college campus or if you are dealing with students every day, you do get branded. Even if you're a young working professional, there was a guy that told me he had just started a job as a lawyer and he was working in a law firm and everything was fine. But during a meeting one day, he took a pro-Modi stance and everyone else was not of the same stance, correct? And he was actually not included in brainstorm sessions, in meetings, and so he said, what do I do? Because if I voice my opinion, I'm not included in professional work meetings, which is just not allowed, but it's happening. And my answer to this is, I think that the way that I personally deal with it, I get trolled each and every day, and sometimes it does get very disheartening, right, to read some of these messages. Sometimes it does get to you. After all, we're all humans at the end of the day. So first day, it might not bother you. Second day, it might not bother you. If people are calling you names, adjectives, people have gone so far as to call me, whore, bitch, baby Nazi. I get those every single day in my inbox. So, Aditya, to answer your question, and this kind of goes to all of you, you have to, I think, at bottom line, you have to be prepared for this. And if you are going to voice your opinion, which you should do, right, you are going to have to face this at this point. The only way that this will stop, or the only way that it will lessen to the point where you don't have to take it seriously, is if more and more of us voice our opinions regularly. That's the only way. If we come together and voice our opinions, there's more of us that support each other, right? Just look at it in a common sense way. Now, if there's one of us, if there's one Priyanka that's every day pushing out this narrative, of course I'm going to face the flack for it. But now, if there are 20 of us, 30 of us, 40 of us that are voicing that same opinion every single day, this is what we call a supportive ecosystem. And this needs to happen. So we literally need all of you on this call to start doing that. And that's the only way that we can start dealing with this. The other way you can deal with this is, have some people who are on your side or take the same viewpoint as you. If something really disturbs you, or if someone has kind of branded you or called you something that has bothered you, and they've done it on social media platforms, you can always have 2 or 3 of your friends or 2 or 3 people who share the same viewpoint, message them and tell them, can we answer this person objectively? That's the way that you deal with it. Let's look at, I'm glad that you guys are asking questions. There seems, there's one more question from Shubham. Let me just read it. There seems to be a lack of political will to take stringent actions against perpetrators under existing laws, because this infodemic is more fearful than the pandemic itself. Yes, that's true. The infodemic is more fearful than the pandemic, and it's causing disruptive events in the country, as we saw. Within 9 days of a lockdown, we had thousands of migrant workers congregating at one place. We also had a religious congregation of, 8,000 people. This is all because of fake news. I don't think there is a lack of political will at this point. I think that certainly national leadership is aware of it, but I do think that it is up to media platforms and the people who are in charge of putting out information on a massive scale. They really, at least in India at this point, for these 21 days, this is a critical stage for us because it's a crucial stage. Because if things get worse, the lockdown is only going to prolong itself, right? If we are set back, we will have to be in lockdown for longer. So I think that the government at this point should be focusing on tackling coronavirus and nothing else. It is up to citizens to call out media false information, because Prime Minister at this point cannot do that, right? What is the Prime Minister going to do? How many things can he handle? He's trying to fight the global sort of health pandemic that's hitting our country. So he can't be focused on fighting, false news and false rumors. That's up to us. So this is how you can contribute to the fight against coronavirus. Start tackling false news. Start calling people out. And don't just react to them. There's no value in that. React to them objectively. Ved is asking, if not any mention of fake news in the Epidemic Act, do we need any amendment? As fake news is a disaster itself. It's very scary. I wonder if I've had this debate with a lot of my friends in the US as well as in India that, the media does need to be regulated. I do think that we need measures for that, for sure. With that being said, it's not regulated at the moment, right? I certainly do think that if not an amendment, there needs to be a regulation agency that's very active in calling things like this out. I think that in the meantime, though, if there is no regulation, as I said before, citizens certainly can call other citizens and big platforms out, and don't be afraid to do so. How to become a cool dude by following credible source of Ved is, that's a good question. Ved is asking, how do I become a cool dude, or if there's any girls watching, dudette, by following credible sources of news. People keep tagging us as Bhakt, so I've been tagged as much worse. I'll tell you one thing, Ved. I think, being cool, you need to set that narrative, right? What is the new cool? Right now, the being cool is, kind of being anti-Modi and going for these anti-CAA protests. So that's considered cool, right? Why can't you be the forefront, or the front runner, I should say, in what the new cool is? Start setting that narrative. That's what I've started doing on my Instagram. Be confident in yourself. Be confident, and how do you gain confidence? If you're backed up by facts, right? If you're just going around screaming, Modi is great, okay, good. But if you can give me 5 reasons as to why Modi is great, that in January he's done this, in 2016 he did this, right now he is doing this, then automatically I start listening to you. So you become the new cool. Define what cool is and people will follow you. Chaitanya is asking, what can be the role of social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter in stopping the dissemination of fake news? Do we need stringent regulations to regulate social media platforms? Stringent regulations are a double-edged sword. I think that, you can't, if you look at China, they are completely regulated. It's very strict sort of social media regulation that they have put on people. But people still find ways to access Facebook, to access and to publish content, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a very sticky situation, because I think that either ways, whether you have strict regulation or not, fake news is still going to come out of it. So regulation is definitely needed. Strict regulation, I don't know. But I do think that there needs to be an active sort of organization calling people out and penalizing them, or calling platforms out and penalizing them for putting false information out there. And the way that you can help sort of formulate this is by, the start is basically doing it yourselves. And if more and more and more of us do it consistently, then people might seriously look into creating sort of organization that tackles this, an official organization that tackles this, or an official body that tackles this. Sorry. Just trying to scroll down. Shubham is asking, these are good questions, guys, keep them coming. Do you think unrestricted dissemination of fake news hampers the efforts of our PM to maintain and manifest social strength? Yeah, of course it does, right? Look what's happening. And it's, forget the masses. I regularly contact my professors. Now, I've gone to the London School of Economics, right? I've gone to Harvard. I've gone to the University of Illinois, and I've gone to the University of Southern California as well. I've contacted professors, and they have flat out told me, and of course I contact them to, if I've written something or if I want to publish something abroad, overseas. I have taken a very strong stance on these issues, right? And they flat out tell me that, Priyanka, we don't take the same stance on your issue, so we can't help you. These are professors telling you this. And the problem in this is, what about my viewpoint? I have a right to free speech too, right? So just because you don't agree, now you're not going to help me, now you're not going to let me send my viewpoint to a publication to be considered. So it is really problematic, and of course it massively restricts what the Prime Minister, what the GOI is trying to do in order to combat and contain coronavirus. And when we see that we are losing this battle, that's what I'm saying, social media has tremendous power, because each and every individual, it's called citizen journalism. And that, I think, by and large has already started in the USA, that I've seen. But here, citizen journalism has not started, and it's very important. It is tremendously powerful. So you have the power to start it, you can do it. This is a good question. How to understand if something is fake or not, and to make people aware about this. I follow the most useful handle right now for coronavirus that I follow is honestly the PIB handle on Twitter. They have also now started giving daily updates on what each and every ministry is doing. And if you want to look at it, look it up in further detail, each ministry is updating, what they've done in detail. So, PIB will say Health Ministry has done this, Finance Ministry has done this, and obviously on the ministry websites, the official pages, you can go in detail and check and see what they've done. This is the way that you can sort of see whether something is real or something is fake, because a credible government site is not going to lie to you about what's being done. So in that sense, I think it's quite easy, right, to share that update or to retweet it or to write about it. But make sure that it's correct. It takes, maybe 5, 6, 7 extra minutes of your time to verify it and fact check it. But do fact check using the correct sources, and also fact check everything using credible sources and voices. And when you are writing, avoid sort of propaganda and sensationalism. Just express what the fact is. there's, I think, one more question, and I think that it's a good one as well. Let me read it. In times like this, when nearly every media platform is being labeled as inclined to the right or the left, how do you suppose a person gets neutral, non-biased news? I think that, see, you will face this problem, unfortunately, everywhere in the world. Media is biased because of who they are funded by, right? So if you go to the US and you look at Fox News, it's very Republican. And if you go to ABC News, it is very, very liberal. If you go to Harvard, the campus is very, very liberal, right? So you will face this problem anywhere that you go. Now, I was just telling a friend that in Harvard, I am personally a supporter. My parents are also supporters of President Trump. For whatever reasons, we have our personal reasons, and we do support him. Now, last election, I was not a supporter of it. It's not like it matters or has any impact. But if I were to vote, I would have actually chosen last election to not vote because I did not like either candidate, right? And I'm talking about the US election. So I'm talking about Clinton and Trump. You have this right as well, right? So I think that in times like this, as you say, when media platforms are inclined to be very left or very right, I'm glad that you appreciate this term citizen journalism, because I'm telling you, I promise you, the more of us that start doing it, the more of us that consistently do it. I don't mean like just do it once because you have that adrenaline rush to do it. Or you have that enthusiasm to do it and then it dies and then you're not active for 6 months. But make it a point, not every day perhaps, but maybe every week. If you are, if everyone here, whoever's on this Facebook live stream, I feel you guys are interested somewhat in politics and what's going around and across in the country. And a lot of young people ask me tangible ways that they can get involved in nation building. And these are very simple things that you can do. Anyway, you're sitting at home for 12 hours now, right? 24 hours. But you're awake, let's say, for at least 12 hours of that time. You can definitely spend 15 minutes, 5 minutes giving out the right information. Because even if you give that information out to 2 people, 3 people, those 2-3 people will give the correct information out to 6 people, 10 people. Those 10 people will give that information out to 50. And that's how the chain goes, right? Why is fake news spread in such situations? And what do they get by spreading fake news? Well, massive, massive money. People have their own agendas, right? That is human nature. Everyone has his or her own agenda in life. What I can tell you though is fake news exists in most societies, and it's scary. It is really scary. Today I think fake news at least is in its beginning stages in India. What scared me, right? I saw this video of President Obama, former President Barack Obama. He was saying something and it looked like him, it sounded like him. And the video was actually morphed. It was a completely fake video made by some video editor. Just to show us as a demo, it wasn't leaked out or anything. Now, imagine the consequences of this. If a video like this is to be leaked out, right, where if you have a morphed video of the Prime Minister Modi saying, we've reached stage 3 and, everybody is going to die, or some sort of fake headline or sensationalized headline, what sort of chaos will it cause in the country? From one video, the whole country will fall to its knees. So the future of fake news is very scary, and before it gets to that point, which it hasn't in India yet, before it gets to that point, I think that it is important to fight it, to call it out, and it does start with the individual. It can only start with individuals. There's questions about China and Italy. Chaitanya has asked a really good question. And I have also advocated for this in quite a few institutions. Italy has experimentally added recognizing fake news in the school syllabus. Should India also seriously emphasize cybersecurity, internet? Absolutely. Cybersecurity, internet education, fake news. I think it should be introduced in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Without a doubt. Even if it's one course, even if it's a required 2-week thing that you can take online, it should absolutely be introduced. The problem that we have is that not many people can teach it. So if we can start doing this, I think even you guys, if you guys are students in your college, go to a professor and say, look, I want to conduct a workshop. And if you contact me, I can help you do the syllabus for that workshop. I'd be more than happy to help in any effort. But this sort of syllabus, don't wait for the national leadership to do it, right? I'm always a big advocate of why should you wait for the government to do everything for you? If it's not being done, get up and do it yourself. You can. You have that power. So if you're really strong on this is an excellent question, Chaitanya. Thanks for asking it. But if you're really strong and adamant on this sort of course and putting it in the school syllabus, what I would do if I were you is look up courses that already exist, maybe overseas or whatever. Look up what those courses are. They'll have that sort of description of course description, what the course is all about. And think of ways that you can implement it in India, right? And in terms of the content and in terms of what you have to say and what you should add in a course and creating a course yourself, go to either a professor of yours to help you kind of do that, or come to me, come to sort of an academic expert. I've studied international education policy. If you need help in curriculum design, I would be more than happy to help, and I'm sure that other educators would be more than happy to be on board for this kind of an effort. China giving the fake information, I think, let me see if I'm trying to understand your question. You're trying to ask what has China got by giving fake information? Well, the same thing that Indian media publications get by giving fake information, right? More hits, more likes, sensationalized headlines make people listen. They make people click on the link, right? Who is going to listen to a live PIB 2-hour briefing versus one headline that's saying India has reached stage 3 of the coronavirus? You would definitely click the second link versus the first one, right? That's why sensationalism and misinformation exists. Suggest some ways on how they can correct their conscience. People who are ready to sell their nation by speaking against it for getting some money. See, you can't... this is what Ashutosh, this is what I would actually avoid doing, because it doesn't do you any good, right? It doesn't help push the correct narrative forward. Stop reacting. Stop getting angry as to what these people are doing. Stop doing that, because it ruins your credibility. Start objectively, simply clarifying things for your followers, to people that will listen. Hold student group discussions and back what you have to say with credible sources and credible facts. people can't fight what is factually correct. They just can't. Even if they yell and scream at you, call you names, it looks bad on them. They look like the fool, right? So don't focus so much on how to correct their conscience. Focus on what you can do to build a narrative and to build a positive narrative so that people can follow. Because the only way that these people, as you say, people speaking against the nation, people who are just interested in agenda, the only way that you can show these people and tap into their conscience is when more people are listening to you versus listening to them. And the way to go about that is to build a narrative and to not react. So I don't know what time it is. I think we're out of time. But if you guys have, thank you guys so much. Honestly, I really love the fact that there were active questions the entire time. And these were very, very good questions. I had fun answering them. And if you guys do have any questions, any queries, if you guys are thinking about ways, wondering how you can personally contribute to nation building, to correct news, it is the need of the hour to do this. It really is. And we need to start. You need to start. This is how you can become a highly contributing member of society. And it's a really easy way to do it. You just have to sit on your social media handles, which you anyway, all of us visit multiple times a day, and start posting some content that's valuable. So look out for objective information. Follow my Twitter handles. If you need any help, if you have any ideas, please share them with me. I'll be honest, I don't give out my phone number because I get spammed anyway. So I end up missing messages. But I'm very active on Twitter. I'm very active on Instagram. So if you message me on those platforms, it's at Priyanka Deo, PRIYANKADEO. Please start, you don't have to follow me, but contact me at least on those platforms. Look at some of my content if you need some help or inspiration. And please reach out to me there. I'd be happy to answer your questions. I'd be happy to help you out. So that being said, I think that is the end of our session, Facebook Live session. Thanks so much, guys, for being here. Really, really enjoyed talking to all of you. This is the first time I've actually done a Facebook Live, so thanks to Think India, and thanks for helping me get it set up. But I'll talk to you guys later, and let me know if you have any suggestions for me, or even if you have any critiques for me that you can do this differently or you can do that differently in my videos or in what I'm doing. It's collaboration here, so please let me know, and I'll see you guys around. Bye. Namaste.